Hey guys, so welcome to my part 2 video of Are You Sure You Want to Own a Macaw? If you haven't seen part 1, you need to go back and watch that one. Basically, these videos is about, I had a lot of questions and stuff about, oh, where'd I get my macaw? How much did she cost? Did I buy her as tame as she is? Who do they buy from to get her that tame? That kind of stuff. And that video goes over basically, you can't buy them. Your birds are tame. They're around people. They know people, is what I'm trying to say. You can't buy them as you're looking at it as tame because your bird may never bond to you. And that video is going to explain to you about bird behavior, some bird behavior and bonding and that kind of stuff. So if you haven't seen it, you don't know anything about birds, before you buy a bird of any kind, it doesn't just mean for macaws, go back and watch that video. Now on this video, we are going to talk about, okay, so if you're watching part 2, you have apparently decided that, yeah, I want a bird, whether it's budgie all the way up to, macaws, I'm talking about any of the parrot family, because their behavior is basically the same. It's it's all in the bird. If the bird wants to be with you and bond with you, then that's where you get your, what people think is these well-trained, I want hugs and kisses. Birds are very, they're very, how am I trying to say this? They just love people. And they're very sociable. That's what I'm trying to say, sociable. So if your bird bonds to you and wants to be with you, there's no training that. It'll be with you. So now that you have decided, I'm willing to take the risk, I'm willing to try this, okay, this is what living with a macaw is like, or any bird, because I had a cockatiel for 10 years and they're about the same. First of all, you're gonna have to get your bird on a routine. A lot of people don't understand how much more bonded and sociable your bird will be if you put it on a routine. Let's see. Mine and Marley's routine. At 7:30 in the morning, she gets up. Now, 15 to 8, if I haven't come in there by then and started getting her up, oh, she's an alarm clock. She will wake you and your neighbors up. That's how loud they are. So if you don't like a lot of loudness, you better go with a different, go down. I hear the Conyers and the Quakers are kind of loud. But I do, you might want to go down to a cockatiel or something to that effect if you don't like loudness, because they are loud. My neighborhood can hear my bird when she screeches. So, you better make sure you're in an area where your neighbors don't mind. Because you may, have complaints all the time if you have a loud bird. But if you get it on a routine, as a general rule, it's not as screechy and loud. Not saying it can't be. It's just it's not. So 7:30 in the morning. By 15 to 8, she's screeching. I get up, I go in there, and I give her food and water. I let her out of her cage because I do put her to bed at night. So I let her out of her cage, I uncover her cage, I let her out. I put on, she the early part of the morning, Marley doesn't like, she wants you to put on some music. Her favorite is Fleetwood Mac. And, she's eating her breakfast while I'm setting up her room. I get her her perches lined up, and she's got a chair in there so that she can move around the room, because Marley doesn't like to get in the floor, but she'll move around the room on those perches so that she's just not confined to being on top of the cage. So, a cheap way to make perches is PVC pipe. Go get PVC stuff from the Home Depot and just make any kind of perches you want. Veterinarian tape. You can buy it at Tractor Supply. The veterinarian tape is very safe for birds. Yes, it's an adhesive, but the adhesive is meant to where if it is eaten by horses, dog, it doesn't matter, it will digest. Because birds will pick at stuff. So make sure you don't use a duct tape or nothing like that to wrap your PVC stuff. You make sure you use veterinarian tapes. So, and build you some perches and things of that nature to move your bird from place to place. Your bird is not going to be happy if it's stuck in one spot of the house. It wants to go in different rooms. If I am cleaning and cooking throughout the day, Marley wants to be in there. If I am in the living room watching TV, she wants to be in here. And make sure you have couch covers. If you're going to let her on your furniture, let them on your furniture. That kind of stuff. So you need to be prepared since you've decided, yes, I want this bird. So, alright, we've gotten her up. We've got her up. I cut on Fleetwood Mac. Marley really loves Fleetwood Mac in the mornings. And I just find the album on YouTube, and I put it on. I turn it down real low where she can hear it, but, not loud enough to, disturb the rest of the house. And she gets on that swing, and she just swings. And she don't want nobody in that room. So if you're somebody who wants to cuddle, say from about 8 to 12 o'clock in the daytime, you can hang it up with Marley. You and your bird will have to figure out y'all's routine. But Marley doesn't want to be bothered from 8 to 12. She wants you to come get her up, put her music on, and get the crap out of there. Now around 12, Marley likes for me to come in there and get her. And she wants to come out here and she wants to eat a snack. She loves to have a little snack, just nibble on things I've got around or whatever. Do your homework on your foods, because birds can eat just about anything a human can. Do not never feed them anything from the onion family. And do not feed them processed junk foods. I mean, I ain't saying you can't hand her a little piece of pizza every now and then, just something to taste. But really do your homework. I think the dairy is not good for them, so Google it before you give it to them. I mean, but, Marley's not a big eater anyway on that kind of stuff. She will nibble it because I'm eating it, but she don't like people food, really. But some birds do. Some birds love people food. They love sweet potatoes and green beans and things like that. If you have a bird that likes that kind of stuff, be prepared to cook those foods for them the way you're supposed to cook them for a bird to eat it, because that is more healthier for them than it is any of the bird foods you can buy. And also, let's do a little quick while we're right here at this eating thing. Don't feed your bird just a seed blend from a Walmart or something like that. That is so unhealthy for your bird. In the wild, which none of our birds are ever born in the wild around here. I mean, they're hatched. They're bred right in our homes. They're born knowing and being around people. But if they lived in the wild, then they would eat plenty of seeds and all that. And people say, well, what's the difference? Well, first of all, In the wild, these birds fly 24/7. They stop, land, perch, eat. Other than sleeping at night, they're flying all the time, and they can burn that fat off. But if you're feeding them a lot of seed, and they're living in a home, they're not flying that food off. They cannot walk enough to get that off. And it's kind of like somebody like me just eating crap loads of candy bars and just sitting on the couch all day. Can't feed them that. You got to get them on a pelleted diet. And if you can get them on what they're calling chopped, basically it's just fruits and vegetables cut up, bird size, you need to cook some of the stuff. So some of the vegetables cannot be fed to them raw. Some of it can. So Google your stuff. Find out what you can and cannot give them. Because if you feed them the wrong thing, you're going to make them sick. But if you can get them to eat fruits and vegetables, then that is the best way for them to go. But don't do the seed. Do a pelleted diet. You might as well get ready to go to a pet store and spend the money. There's a lot of different pelleted diets out there. You can choose. None's better than the other. You can choose what, pelleted diet you want to be on, but get them off the seed. They can have seeds as a treat. Marley loves sunflower seeds, and we give her to them as treats. She can't have them all day long, or a part of her bird diet food. They can have things like apple chips, banana chips. Watch the bag. Do not get foods that says sweetened on it. It should just be natural or organic. Banana chips, apple chips, that kind of stuff. Don't get it if it says sweetened. If it is sweetened, they're using a sweetener, one of those diet sweeteners to sweeten it. And that is bad for your bird. Those diet sweeteners are really bad. I don't know how you say it, that the stuff they use to make those sweeteners, can kill dogs. So, it's toxic to a lot of animals. Really, it's toxic to us. We just don't realize it. But, yeah, make sure you're not getting sweetened if you're going to feed them the apple chips. Now, you can feed them any kind of nut. And it's better to give it to them in the shell so that they can perform natural behavior of cracking that shell and getting the nut out and blah, blah, blah. But you don't have to feed it in the shell. Marley is not a nut eater. She just is not interested in any kind. I've not found a nut yet Marley's interested in. And we buy a whole bag of a different nut once a month, and we try to offer a different kind. So we're working our way there. I'm really hoping Marley's interested in pecans, because I have 2 pecan trees where I live, and they drop pecans like there's no tomorrow. Should start dropping them soon. So hopefully she is going to like pecans so she can help eat those darn things. Anyway, we ain't talk about the diet no more. Alright, we're going to talk about our routine. This is what it's like to live with a bird. Their food is expensive. Like we were just talking about that is expensive. Look into that. Look at how much it's going to cost you to buy those nuts. Look at how much it's going to cost you to buy those pelleted formulas. Look at how much it's going to cost you to get the fresh fruits and vegetables daily to have there for them. So, once she's had her midday snack, she spends the rest of the time till she goes to bed with me. Marley wants to be with me. I mean, with me. If I go somewhere, like to my son's house or whatever, and my husband's here, and she'll sit in the room with him. She don't want him to touch her, but she will sit in the room with him, and she won't screech as bad. She'll be quiet. But he says sometimes she will call for me. But be ready to tote her around your bird around a lot because Marley wants to be with me all the time. We are working on potty training. We are trying to teach her to only poopy at the perch because all of my perches have something to catch the poopy underneath. A lot of people have had success with potty training. Now, it's a very slow go with us. Sometimes Marley will go, sometimes she won't. She'll go back to her perch and poopy. When I had Chico, I never trained Chico to poopy at his perch. But I guess as he was growing up with us, it's just something he started doing on his own. He didn't poop all over my house. He had certain areas he went to, and when I figured out what areas he was going to poopy, I put stuff down for that. As Chico didn't have perches or a cage. Chico lived like you would raise a dog. I mean, he roosted in our bedroom on my headboard at night, or on the coffee table beside us. Sometimes he would get up on my pillow and sleep. But Chico and Marley's two different cases, and we're going to talk about that toward the end. But right now, let's get back to the routine. So you're spending the rest of the day with her. You really have to have time to spend with these animals. I mean, you're getting these animals, and if you don't want these animals to be screaming and hollering, and the neighbors are just complaining all the time, then don't get these bigger birds. They need a lot of mental stimulation. You can get a cockatiel and make sure it's got plenty of toys and things like that, and they can stimulate themselves while you're at work. You just need to remember when you get off of work, you have to come home. With Chico, my previous cockatiel that I had for about 10 years, when I would get off of work and go get the kids to carry them to football practice or what have you, whatever they were doing, Chico got in the car too. Chico went with me. And if I ran errands, he just sat in the car. I mean, I done my errands. Chico sat right there. He done his thing in the car. We didn't leave Chico at home. We took him with us everywhere we went. Now, Marley's a little different story because Marley hasn't worked up to getting... She don't want to get in the car. She's scared of that. You got to understand, there was a difference in Chico and Marley. Chico was... I got Chico at 3 days old. He was hatched, and in 3 days, I got him. I hand-fed Chico his formula. He didn't know any different. And he had to be fed like every hour and a half, 2 hours. So if we went anywhere, Chico was carried with us in a shoebox. And so there really was no training with Chico. As he progressed in age, we would start telling him what we wanted him to do. Chico, go do this, and they catch on quickly. Marley she's not. I didn't get her from a shelter, but she's kind of like a rescue bird. She's come to me later on in life. So her and I are having to learn together, how to understand each other. So that's a little difference there with Chico and Marley. So with Marley, I'm not here. If I leave in the evenings and go do something, then my son and daughter-in-law live right next door. And they will tell me, Marley has been screaming since y'all left. Because Marley wants me to come back and get her. Marley doesn't want to be left by herself. Marley wants to be with me. So if you got neighbors that's going to complain, and definitely if you live in an apartment, you better stay with cockatiels or lower, because they will keep your neighbors stirred up. But Marley, she doesn't want to be by herself, so she pitches a fit. And we've got to teach her how, okay, fine. You don't want to be here. You don't want to be by yourself, but I have to go to town. So that means you're going to have to get in that car and go with us. And then we're just going to have to leave the car running with either the air or the heat on while we're in the store getting what we need. Now, most of the time, when I do my biggest running, if I'm going to be going more than to a gas station or something, this is in the future because we can't get Marley in the car much right now. I will do it after Marley goes to bed. Marley goes to bed at sunset. She's just like a chicken. Sunset is bedtime. And then she gets up no later than 7:30 every morning. So, you know, that's kind of, you're going to have to develop a routine with your birds. You got to develop that routine. If you don't develop, they expect, then they learn from those routines. And that's what keeps them mentally stimulated enough to stay calm. They're more playful, they're more loving, they're more easy to bond if they have a routine. So you got to put them on a routine, and you got to stick with that routine. So now, with vacations and things of that nature, you're going to have to pay boarding. You can't just leave them at home. And this is the kicker with dogs or cats or whatever. They're fine. If, a cat you can leave at home overnight, but not for a long period of time. Our dogs, when we go on vacation, we board them. And if we don't board them, then my son watches them. So, but with a birds get very attached to their owners. Very attached. And you can't hardly leave them with someone. You ain't going to be able to take that bird to somebody else's house. It's going to refuse to eat. Every time you try to go on a vacation, there's something you better think about. They're not going to eat. They're not going to do well. You're liable to come back to a dead bird because they will grieve themselves to death. Marley, I'm trying to get her extremely used to my son so that I have somebody that she may not be extremely bonded to, but she knows them. And I'm teaching him, this is her routine if you'll try to do this, if you'll try to do that. Marley won't leave my house and go stay with him, but he will come here 2 or 3 times a day and take care of Marley. That way she's at home, she's in her own home, she's not stressed out by the move, and she knows Jonathan when he comes in the door. So you're going to have to work with somebody and say, hey, I want you to be my permanent bird sitter. You have to get a permanent bird sitter. You can't go off and just leave them overnight. They're like children. You can't do that. You got to have somebody that's going to be able to come in and check on them. So, think about that. If you're one of those that wants to go and do things a lot, you're not going to be able to do that. That's why I was wishy-washy on and off for a couple of years about, do I really want another bird? Yes, I love birds, but I also like to travel. So, when I did decide I would take, I didn't decide I would take Marley, I had decided I wanted another bird. And I had actually decided, cockatiel was on my mind. Chico, my previous bird, was on my mind. And I was just sure no other bird was going to work. I had to have a cockatiel. But I ended up with Marley. Was gifted to me, and I'm so thankful for that. And we are really bonded. But I know all these little weekend getaways and stuff, we're not going to be able to do them anymore. So I'm having to change up my routine. I'm not saying you got to stop doing stuff. But what I am saying, like, we would go to Tennessee and spend the weekend or whatever. I mean, just, somewhere for the weekend or whatever. Go to his parents in Michigan for 4 or 5 days. That's out now. We can't do that. We will take one vacation a year. We usually cruise once a year. We haven't, right now with this COVID, we're slack on that. We didn't cruise any. And I cruised in 2020. My husband did not get to cruise in 2020. And we are not cruising in 2021 at all. We're scheduled to cruise again in 2022. So, if everything is back to normal, then in October of 2022, we'll cruise again. That is where my son is going to come in and take care of her in my own home. So I will be working with him for over a year and make sure she's really comfortable with him. He understands her routine so that it doesn't stress her out, me being gone. So this is things you're going to have to do. You can't just run off and say, oh, so if you're the kind of person that wants to be gone for 2 or 3 nights here or there, or a spur-of-the-moment thing, you can hang it up having birds. Your birds will die. With Chico, we didn't go anywhere. We took no vacations. If Chico couldn't go, we didn't go. And that's just how it was. If he could not go, we didn't go. I think we went to Florida a couple of weekends, me and the boys. And my dad come down and made sure he had food and water. At that time, my dad lived close to me, like my son lives close to me. So my dad would come into the home and take care of him in his own home. Because if you can keep your bird in your home, that is ideal. Trying to board them, they will starve themselves. You have to be careful. They will starve themselves. So you're going to have to get them on a routine. You're going to have to think of, you can't run off anymore and leave your bird behind. So it doesn't matter what birds you have, you know, you're going to have to make sure somebody's looking after it. Somebody your bird knows. So, with Marley, when I talk on the phone, there is times that she acts such a fool that I can't talk on the phone to people. I can't just get on the phone and chit-chat or gossip because Marley may not allow it. She is like having a 2 to 4 year old in this home at all times. She may pitch such a fit, I have to tell whoever I'm on the phone with, look, I'm going to have to call you back. I've got to get up and take them, because when they start screeching, it's like having a 4-year-old that is tearing your house apart. You're going to get up and you're going to go take care of that 4-year-old, but that's how you're going to do this bird. You're going to get up because you ain't going to want to hear that screeching. So that's another thing. That's what it's like living with a macaw. You now have a permanent 2 to 4-year-old. You have to understand that anything that you own now becomes theirs. Jewelry, if you're a jewelry wearer, you can wear it when you go to town after she's went to bed at night. That is the one time that you're free. That is a good thing, because you can still do movies. You can still go bowling. You know, you just have to wait till she goes to bed. Now, if it's in the summer, now Marley goes to bed 6:30, not 5:30, 6:30 every night, summer or winter. I cover her cage in the summertime so that all light is gone. In the winter, usually it is dark by 6:30. So she's ready for that. She's ready for bed. But so you can still get out in the evenings. It's not like it's not as bad as it sounds. So come evening time, you can still get out. But I'm talking about this away time, going to stand in hotels and all that. That stuff's gonna have to stop. And all your belongings, jewelry, things like that, clothes. You see this old shirt I have on? You're going to have to get you a bunch of old clothes. Don't go in there and sit down with your nice $25 Roll Tide or whatever your football team is shirt on, because they chew holes in your clothing. It is a thing for them to preen you, to groom you like they groom themselves. Also, if you're a hairstyle, if you want to get up every morning and fix your hair and it's all pretty, you can scratch that off, because as soon as your bird decides it's time for me to get on my flock, because you are that bird's flock, it's going to preen your hair. Oh, man, oh God, Marley had me looking like Frankenstein sometimes. They're going to chew holes in your clothes. If you don't want your arms looking like this, you see all them little dots, them little sore scabs? That's her toenails. And yes, her toenails are filed down. Now, if you keep them really filed and at the vet, it's not as bad. She had a bad case of had to have her toenails fixed, and I just had to fight her into a kennel to carry to the vet. So, but yeah, if you don't want to look like that, if you don't want these little sores, if you don't want holes in your clothes, buy old clothes. So, and make sure whatever you do, you get some money put back. Start saving some money, if it ain't but $20 a paycheck, in a little account or envelope, however you want to do it, that says bird fund. Whatever your bird's name is, fund. Because at some point that bird is going to have to go to the vet. And it's not cheap. I mean, it is not cheap. You know, I think I used to pay like $250 to $350 when Chico. But y'all gotta understand, I'm 50, and last time I had a bird, I was about 30. I think Chico passed, I was like 36. So it's been about 15 years. Well, I would imagine, I know from talking to people, it's gonna run you about $3,000 now, not $300 or $400, $3,000 or $4,000. So you gotta have that money put back for those vets, because your bird cannot wait. She cannot wait. If you get up and she's got a cold, put her butt in the car then and get her to the vet. Let me tell you this, Chico used to do it real bad. In the wintertime, I cough a lot. I've always had bad allergies, plus I'm a smoker. So I hack. So if your bird starts coughing, don't freak out and do not panic. Birds do not cough. If your bird is coughing, it's because he's mimicking you or someone in the house coughing. Now, birds will sneeze, and if you start seeing snot come out their nose or a discharge of any kind, get it to the vet. It's getting a respiratory infection, and it will die. So, you know, if you're prepared for this, you, by all means, birds are A1. I love Chico so much, I couldn't even have another bird after he died. This is my, other than my little parakeets I've got, Marley is finally one I took in, and I, knew all this stuff's got to stop. All this running around has to stop. All this, that, and the other, and, so, yeah, it's like having a kid all over again. And, she's pretty amazing. And, like, if you watch the other video and it talks about bird bonding, because now, if you didn't watch that one, you need to watch it. Because it's going to talk to you about how your bird may never bond to you. If your bird never bonds to you, then you have a bird in a cage that you're feeding, and it's miserable.